I've never been good with birthdays. They've always felt like ticking clocks, just another reminder that I'm getting older without actually getting anywhere. But this one was supposed to be different. Emma had been dropping hints for weeks, telling me how this birthday would be special, how she'd finally found the perfect gift, something meaningful, something that showed she understood me. I should have seen the signs. The morning starts like any other Saturday. I wake up to the smell of coffee and the soft hum of Emma moving around the kitchen of our apartment. 2 years together, and the sound of her bare feet on hardwood still makes me smile. I stretch, feeling oddly optimistic. 32? Not a milestone by any conventional standard, but Emma has a way of making ordinary things feel significant. "Morning, birthday boy," she calls from the kitchen. "Don't come out yet." I laugh and roll onto my side. Wouldn't dream of it. Our bedroom is bathed in the kind of soft morning light that makes everything look slightly dreamlike. I stare at the ceiling, counting the little splatter marks from when we tried to paint it ourselves last summer. Emma had gotten paint in her hair, and I'd teased her about it for days. Small, happy moments. "Okay, you can come out now." I pull on a t-shirt and shuffle into the kitchen. Emma stands beside the small table in our breakfast nook, beaming. She's wearing my old college sweatshirt that swallows her whole, her dark hair pulled into a messy bun. On the table sits a plate of slightly burnt pancakes, a small wrapped box, and a much larger package wrapped in simple brown paper. "Happy birthday," she says, kissing my cheek. "I made your favorite." "Burnt pancakes?" I tease, wrapping my arm around her waist. She elbows me playfully. "You know what I mean, blueberry. I just got distracted." I sit down, and she pours coffee into my favorite mug, the chipped one I've had since college. "Open the small one first," she says, nervously tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. I unwrap it to find a vintage watch. Not an expensive one, but it's exactly my style. Slightly worn, unpretentious, with a leather strap that's soft from years of someone else's wrist. I love it immediately. "Emma, this is perfect." She smiles, relieved. "It reminded me of you. Reliable. Classic." "Worn out and outdated," I joke. "Timeless," she corrects, squeezing my hand. We eat pancakes and talk about nothing important. Plans for the day. A movie we want to see. The leaky faucet in the bathroom that needs fixing. Normal, everyday stuff that feels special simply because we're sharing it. This is what I love about us. The ease of it all. "Ready for the main event?" she asks when we've finished eating. Something flickers across her face. Uncertainty? So quick I almost miss it. Should I be worried? "Just open it," she says, pushing the large package toward me. It's obviously a framed picture of some kind. I tear away the paper, expecting maybe a vintage movie poster, or perhaps a photo of us from our trip to Maine last year. It's a portrait. But not of us. Not of me. Not of anyone I recognize. A man stares back at me from the canvas. Young, handsome in a conventional way, with dark, wavy hair and the kind of face that belongs in glossy magazines. He's smiling slightly, as if sharing a private joke with the viewer. The painting is impressive, obviously expensive, done by someone with real talent. I look up at Emma, confused. Who is this? She's watching me intently, eyes wide and expectant. It's Julian. The name hangs in the air between us. It means nothing to me. Who's Julian? Emma laughs, a small, nervous sound. Julian, my first love, from back home. I stare at her, then back at the portrait, trying to make sense of what's happening. Your ex-boyfriend? You got me a portrait of your ex-boyfriend for my birthday. She blinks rapidly, as if I'm the one who said something strange. Not just any portrait. I commissioned it from Marissa Chen. You know, the artist I've been following? It took her months to finish it. She worked from old photos I had. I set the portrait down carefully on the table. Something cold and hollow opens up inside my chest. Emma, I don't understand. Why would you give me a painting of your ex? She sits down across from me, suddenly serious. Because it's important to me that you know about him, about what he meant to me. On my birthday. I thought, she begins, then stops. I wanted to share this part of me with you. I look again at the portrait. The man, Julian, stares back confidently. I notice details I missed before. He's wearing a jacket, similar to one I own. His smile now seems smug rather than private. How long were you together? I ask, though I'm not sure why it matters. 3 years. We met in high school. And you've kept in touch? She hesitates. On and off. We still talk sometimes. Sometimes? She looks away. We had coffee last month when he was in town for work. I told you I was meeting an old friend. The cold feeling spreads. You lied to me? I didn't lie, I just didn't specify. I knew you might get the wrong idea. Which is? That there's something still there, which there isn't. She reaches for my hand. He was important to me, Alex. He was my first everything. But that's history. I pull my hand away, suddenly finding it hard to look at her. If it's history, why am I staring at his face on my birthday? Because I want you to understand me completely. Julian is part of what made me who I am. So you commissioned an expensive portrait of him? Emma, do you hear yourself? She stands up, defensive now. I thought you'd understand. This is important to me. More important than how I might feel about it? It's not about you. Clearly, I say, standing up too. My birthday gift isn't about me at all. Emma runs her hands through her hair, frustrated. You're overreacting. It's just a painting. Of your ex-boyfriend, whom you're still in contact with, and lied about seeing. I didn't lie. Omission is still lying, Emma. She throws up her hands. This is exactly why I didn't tell you about the coffee. You're making it into something it's not. I grab my keys from the counter. I need some air. Alex, don't walk out. Let's talk about this. What else is there to say? You gave me a portrait of your ex for my birthday. I think that says everything. I head for the door, then pause. In a moment of bitter inspiration, I turn back, pick up the portrait and hang it on the hook by our front door, the one where we usually put our coats. Perfect spot for it, I say. Now he can watch over our apartment while I'm gone. Emma's face crumples. That's not fair. Neither is this, I reply and walk out the door. I drive aimlessly for an hour, replaying the scene in my head. Part of me wonders if I'm overreacting. Another part feels justified in my anger. Who gives their partner a portrait of an ex? What was she thinking? I end up at Jake's place, knowing he'll be home working on his dissertation. Jake has been my best friend since college, the kind of friend who's seen me at my worst and somehow still tolerates me. Dude, he says when he opens the door and sees my face. What happened? I tell him everything while he makes us coffee. When I finish, he whistles low. That's unusual. That's one word for it. He hands me a mug. Maybe she genuinely thought it was a way to share her past with you. By giving me a portrait of the guy she lost her virginity to on my birthday? Jake winces. Yeah, that's rough. But you know Emma, she doesn't always think about how things might come across. It's true. Emma has always been impulsive, following her emotions without necessarily considering consequences. It's part of what drew me to her initially, her unfiltered honesty, her willingness to be vulnerable. But this feels different. She lied about seeing him, Jake. He sits back, considering this. That's more concerning. Did she say why? Because she knew I'd get the wrong idea. I make air quotes with my fingers. Would you have gotten the wrong idea? I stare into my coffee. I don't know. Probably. Because you don't trust her? I did trust her, until I found out she's been lying. Jake sighs. One omission doesn't mean she's untrustworthy, Alex. People are allowed to have private parts of their lives. Even from their partners. Not when it involves exes they're still hung up on. Is that what you think? That she's still hung up on him? The question catches me off guard. Is that what I think? I remember Emma's face this morning, expectant, hopeful, then hurt when I didn't react the way she wanted. I don't know what to think anymore. Jake nods slowly. Maybe that's the problem. You're making assumptions instead of asking questions. What would you do if Sarah gave you a portrait of her ex? Probably freak out, just like you, he admits. But eventually I'd want to understand why. I spend the rest of the morning at Jake's, trying to distract myself with video games and pointless conversation. But Emma's face, and Julian's, keeps appearing in my mind. Around noon, my phone buzzes with a text. Emma. I'm sorry if I hurt you. That wasn't my intention. Please come home so we can talk. I stare at the message. Part of me wants to go back, to hear her out. Another part isn't ready. Me. I need more time. Emma. I understand. I love you. I put my phone away without responding. Want to grab lunch? Jake asks, noticing my mood darkening. Sure. We head to a nearby burger place. Over greasy fries and milkshakes, Jake tries to steer the conversation away from Emma, but I can't seem to let it go. I just don't understand what she was thinking, I say for the dozenth time. Jake sighs. Maybe it's not about what she was thinking. Maybe it's about what she was feeling. What does that mean? I don't know, man. But Emma's always been led by her emotions. Maybe this has some meaning to her that doesn't make sense to us. His words stay with me as we eat. What meaning could there possibly be in giving me a portrait of Julian? What was she trying to say? After lunch, I decide to clear my head with a walk. I end up at a park Emma and I often visit on weekends. Sitting on a bench overlooking a small pond, I let my mind wander to the beginning of our relationship. We met at a mutual friend's party. Emma had been standing alone by the window, watching the rain. I'd offered her a drink, and she'd smiled in a way that made me want to keep making her smile. We'd talked all night, not about the usual first meeting topics, but about deeper things. Our fears, our dreams, the small moments that had shaped us. Emma had always been open about her past. She'd told me about Julian within the first few weeks of dating, how they'd grown up together, how he'd been her first boyfriend, her first heartbreak when he left for college across the country. She'd described it as formative but firmly in the past. Had she been lying all along, or had something changed recently? My phone buzzes again. I expect another text from Emma, but it's my mother. Mom. Happy birthday, sweetheart. Hope you're having a wonderful day with Emma. Call me when you can. I'd completely forgotten it was still my birthday. The morning feels like it happened days ago. I call my mom back, forcing cheerfulness into my voice. We chat for a few minutes about nothing important. She asks what Emma got me, and I lie, saying a watch, which is technically true, though incomplete. After hanging up, I realize I've been sitting in the park for hours. The sun is starting to set, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. I take a deep breath and make a decision. I need to go home and face this. Running away won't solve anything. As I walk back to my car, I try to organize my thoughts. What do I want from this conversation? An explanation, certainly, but also reassurance. I need to know that I'm not just a substitute for someone she still loves. The drive home feels both too long and too short. Before I know it, I'm standing outside our apartment door, key in hand, heart in my throat. I take a deep breath and open the door. The portrait is gone from the hook by the door. The apartment is quiet, but I can see light coming from our bedroom. I pause in the entryway, suddenly uncertain. Emma? There's movement. Then she appears in the hallway. Her eyes are red-rimmed, her face pale. She's changed into sweatpants and a plain t-shirt, her hair now pulled back in a tight ponytail. She looks smaller somehow, vulnerable in a way that makes my anger falter. "Hey," she says softly. "Hey." We stand there, the space between us feeling both too small and impossibly vast. "I put it away," she says, gesturing toward where the portrait had been. "I should never have—" "Why?" I interrupt. "Why did you think that would be a good gift?" Emma takes a deep breath. "Can we sit down, please?" I follow her to the living room. We sit on opposite ends of the couch, the distance deliberate. "I've been thinking about how to explain this all day," she begins, "and everything I come up with sounds crazy." "Try anyway." She nods, picking at a loose thread on the couch cushion. "Julian wasn't just my first boyfriend. He represented a lot of things for me. When we were together, I thought he was everything I wanted. He was confident, talented, ambitious. My parents loved him. Everyone did." I listen silently, trying to keep my expression neutral. When he left for college, I was devastated, but I was also relieved? I didn't understand it at the time. It took me years to realize that I'd been trying to be someone I wasn't when I was with him. Someone perfect. Someone who deserved someone like him. What does this have to do with giving me his portrait? Emma looks up, her eyes meeting mine. "After we broke up, I put Julian on this pedestal. The perfect first love. The one who got away. It wasn't real, but it was a story I told myself. And when I met you—" She pauses, searching for words. "When I met you, I fell in love with someone completely different. Someone real. Someone who saw me, really saw me, not some perfect version I was pretending to be." "And again, the portrait?" "A month ago, when Julian was in town, I agreed to meet him for coffee. I hadn't seen him in years, just occasional social media updates. I was curious, I guess, and nervous." She shifts on the couch, tucking her legs beneath her. "When I saw him, it was like seeing a ghost. This person who had loomed so large in my memory was just a person. Pleasant enough, but ordinary. Talking about his job in finance and his apartment in Boston. He'd gotten more self-absorbed. Or maybe he always was, and I just couldn't see it. We had nothing in common anymore." "So you commissioned a portrait of him because it changed everything for me. That coffee made me realize how wrong I'd been all these years. How I'd been carrying this idealized version of him that wasn't real. And how much better what we have is. What's real is—" I shake my head, still confused. "That doesn't explain why you'd give me his portrait." Emma stands up suddenly, frustrated. "Because I wanted to give you the moment I had. The realization that he wasn't. What? "He wasn't you," she says quietly. "I've spent years thinking I settled for less when Julian and I broke up, that I'd lost something perfect, and seeing him again made me realize that what I found with you is what's perfect." I stare at her, trying to process this. "So the portrait was supposed to be, what, a symbol of your disillusionment? A symbol of letting go, of recognizing that what I thought I wanted wasn't what I needed at all." She sits back down, closer to me now. I thought you'd see this perfect-looking guy, and then I'd tell you about the coffee and my realization, and somehow you'd understand that I was choosing you. Completely. Finally. I struggle for words. "That's really not how it came across." I see that now, she says, her voice small. It was a terrible idea. I'm not good at explaining feelings sometimes. I thought the portrait would say what I couldn't. It said something, all right. Just not what you intended. Emma reaches for my hand tentatively. This time I don't pull away. I'm so sorry, Alex. I never meant to hurt you. I look down at our intertwined fingers. You still should have told me about meeting him when it happened. You're right, I should have. She squeezes my hand. I was afraid you'd be upset, and then I convinced myself it wasn't important enough to mention. But that was wrong. We sit in silence for a moment, the tension between us beginning to dissolve, replaced by something more complicated. So, where is it now? I ask. The portrait? In the closet. I'm going to return it to Marissa, or burn it, whatever you want. Despite everything, I laugh softly. Maybe not burning. Emma gives me a tentative smile. Does this mean you might forgive me? I sigh, running my free hand through my hair. I'm still trying to understand it all, but I believe you didn't mean to hurt me. I didn't. I would never. I know. She moves closer, resting her head against my shoulder. I love you, Alex. Only you. Not some idealized memory, not some perfect image. You, with all your real, wonderful imperfections. I wrap my arm around her, pulling her closer. Even my tendency to overreact and storm out? Even that. She looks up at me. Though maybe less of that in the future would be nice. I kiss the top of her head. I'll work on it if you'll work on your gift-giving strategy. Deal. We sit like that for a while, the quiet of the apartment settling around us like a blanket. There's still hurt there, still confusion, but also understanding beginning to grow in its place. Do you want to see it? Emma asks suddenly. Now that you know the story behind it? I consider this. Maybe. Not today, though. She nods. Whenever you're ready, or never, it's up to you. I think I might want to see it eventually, to see what you saw, or didn't see. I'd like that, she says softly. Later, after we've ordered takeout and eaten on the couch while watching a mindless comedy, Emma disappears into the bedroom and returns with the small, wrapped box from this morning. Your actual birthday present, she says, handing it to me. The watch was just part 1. I unwrap it to find a pair of concert tickets for a band I've been wanting to see for years. How did you get these? They sold out in minutes. She grins, pleased with my reaction. I have my ways. Happy birthday, Alex. I pull her close and kiss her properly for the first time all day. Thank you. This is perfect. Better than a portrait of my ex? She asks, a hint of humor creeping into her voice. Slightly, I deadpan, and she laughs, the sound filling something inside me that had felt empty all day. I really am sorry, she says again, serious once more. Today shouldn't have been about him at all. It wasn't, I realize. Not really, it was about us. About moving forward. She nods, relieved. That's exactly what I was trying to say. Next time, maybe just use words? I promise. As we settle back into the couch, Emma curled against my side, I find myself thinking about the portrait still hidden away in our closet. About the man it depicts and what he represented for Emma. About how easy it is to idealize the past, to create perfect versions of imperfect memories. And I think about us. Messy, real, complicated. How we fight and make up. How we misunderstand and then work to understand each other better. How we're both still figuring out how to love each other well. It's not perfect, but it's real. And that, I'm starting to see, is worth so much more. I wake up the next morning to find Emma's side of the bed empty. For a moment, yesterday's events come rushing back, and I feel a twinge of that cold emptiness. Then I hear movement in the kitchen, smell coffee brewing, and relax. We'd talked until late into the night, moving from the portrait and Julian to other things. Old hurts, new fears, dreams we hadn't fully shared before. It had been exhausting but cleansing, like lancing a wound to let it heal properly. I stretch and get out of bed, padding to the kitchen where Emma stands at the counter, her back to me. She's wearing my t-shirt, her hair mussed from sleep. Morning light streams through the window, catching the dust motes in the air around her. She looks beautiful in a way that catches in my throat. "Morning," I say softly. She turns, smiling. "Hey, sleepyhead, coffee's ready." I pour myself a cup and lean against the counter beside her. "What are you making?" "Proper breakfast, not burnt pancakes." She's chopping vegetables for an omelet, movements precise and focused. "I thought we could have a do-over of yesterday morning." "Sounds good to me." We move around each other easily, the familiarity of our morning routine comforting after yesterday's disruption. I set the table while she cooks. It feels normal, but there's a new awareness between us, like we're both paying closer attention. Over breakfast, Emma brings up the portrait again. "I called Marissa this morning. I'm going to return it." "You don't have to do that," I say, surprising myself. She looks up, fork paused halfway to her mouth. "You want to keep it?" "Not necessarily, but it was expensive and it means something to you. Not what I thought yesterday, but something—" Emma sets down her fork. "I was thinking about what you said, about it being a symbol of moving forward. And you're right. That's what I wanted it to be." She takes a sip of coffee. "But it doesn't have to be a portrait hanging in our apartment to serve that purpose." "What are you thinking?" "I don't know yet, but I want us to decide together." After breakfast, I help clear the dishes, both of us quiet, contemplative. As I'm drying the last plate, Emma turns to me. Would you want to see it now? The portrait?" I consider this. Yesterday, the idea had filled me with anger and jealousy. Today, those emotions are still there, but muted, crowded out by understanding and a strange curiosity. "I think I would, actually." Emma nods and disappears down the hallway, returning a moment later with the portrait, still in its frame, but now wrapped loosely in a blanket. She sets it on the kitchen table and unwraps it. In the clear light of morning, I see it differently. The man, Julian, looks less threatening somehow. Just a handsome young man with a slight smile. I notice things I missed yesterday. A certain stiffness in his posture, a hint of self-consciousness in his expression. "He's not as perfect as I remembered," Emma says softly, studying the portrait alongside me. "I told Marissa to paint him from these old photos, but to make him as I described him. I think she saw through me somehow. She captured something I didn't even realize until I saw him again." I look at her questioningly. "There's something affected about him. Like he's posing, even in casual photos. I never noticed that before." I look back at the portrait. She's right. There's a certain artificial quality to his smile, an awareness of being observed. "You're not like that," she continues. "You've never been concerned with how you appear, you just are." "Is that a compliment, or are you calling me oblivious to social cues?" I ask, half joking. She laughs. "Definitely a compliment. It's one of the things I love most about you." I reach for her hand, squeezing it gently. "Thank you for showing me." "Thank you for looking?" She leans into me slightly. "What do you think we should do with it?" I study the portrait for another moment. "I have an idea." Later that afternoon, we drive to a small art gallery on the outskirts of town. It's owned by a friend of Emma's from art school, a woman named Diane who specializes in finding homes for unwanted artwork. "Emma, Alex, what a surprise!" Diane says as we enter, embracing Emma warmly. She eyes the wrapped portrait we're carrying. What have you brought me? Emma explains the situation, edited for brevity and tact. Diane listens, nodding occasionally, her expression thoughtful. May I? She asks, gesturing to the portrait. We unwrap it, and Diane examines it with a professional eye. Marissa's work is always exceptional, her understanding of light especially. She looks up at us. But I understand why you might not want this particular piece in your home. We were hoping you might know someone who would appreciate it, I say. As art, rather than as him. Diane smiles knowingly. I might have just the place for it. There's a new restaurant opening downtown next month, Modern American Cuisine. The owner is looking for contemporary portraits for the dining room. This would fit beautifully. Emma glances at me, then back at Diane. That sounds perfect. He won't know the subject, will he? I ask, suddenly imagining Julian's face staring down at unsuspecting diners. Diane laughs. No, just another handsome face on the wall. The artist is what matters to him, not the subject. We complete the paperwork, arranging for Diane to sell the portrait on consignment. As we're leaving, Diane calls Emma back for a private word. I wait by the door, watching them talk in hushed tones, Emma nodding seriously. What was that about? I ask as we walk back to the car. She's invited me to be part of a group show next spring. Small works, mostly watercolors. Emma, that's fantastic! I squeeze her hand. Emma's a talented artist, though she rarely shows her work publicly, preferring to teach art to elementary school students. She smiles, a hint of shyness in her expression. It feels right, like maybe it's time to step out of my comfort zone. I think it's perfect timing, I say, opening the car door for her. A fresh start. As we drive home, the empty space where the portrait had been sitting between us now feels lighter, filled with possibility rather than tension. Emma stares out the window, lost in thought, her hand resting lightly on my leg. Thank you, she says suddenly. For what? For understanding, for forgiving me, for helping me let go of the past in a way that feels right. I cover her hand with mine briefly. That's what we do, right? Help each other move forward. She nods, smiling. Right. That evening, we hang a different picture in the entryway. A small watercolor Emma painted years ago of the view from our first apartment. It's not technically perfect, but it's honest and real, filled with memories that belong to us both. As I step back to admire it, Emma wraps her arms around my waist from behind, resting her chin on my shoulder. Much better, she says. I turn in her arms, facing her. Perfect. And in that moment, it is. Are you sure this is the place? I ask, double-checking the address on my phone. Emma nods, adjusting her dress nervously. This is it. Marissa said it opened last month. We're standing outside Lumine, the trendy new restaurant where Diane had placed Julian's portrait. The facade is sleek and modern, all clean lines and subtle lighting. Through the large windows, we can see well-dressed diners and the soft glow of candles on each table. We don't have to do this, I remind her, sensing her anxiety. Emma takes a deep breath. I want to. It feels like the right way to close this chapter. She looks at me uncertainly. Unless you'd rather not. I'm curious, actually. And I am. In the months since the portrait incident, as we now jokingly call it, Julian has transformed in my mind from a threatening figure to an almost symbolic one. A milestone in Emma's journey rather than a rival for her affection. We enter the restaurant and are greeted by a hostess who checks our reservation and leads us to a small table near the center of the dining room. The space is beautiful. High ceilings, ambient lighting, walls adorned with contemporary artwork. Emma's eyes scan the room, searching. "There," she says quietly, nodding toward the far wall. And there it is, Julian's portrait, one among several lining that wall. From this distance, it blends seamlessly with the others, just another handsome face watching over diners who pay it little attention. The context has transformed it from a personal artifact to simply a piece of decor. Our server arrives with menus, momentarily distracting us. We order drinks, and when she leaves, I notice Emma still staring at the portrait. "Strange to see it here," I say. She nods, turning back to me. "It's like seeing a ghost, but a friendly one, if that makes sense." It does. I reach across the table for her hand. "How do you feel about it?" She considers this. "Relieved, I think. It belongs here, somewhere public, impersonal, just another pretty picture on a wall." We order food, talk about other things, Emma's upcoming gallery show, my recent promotion, the possibility of adopting a dog, ordinary, everyday topics that make up a life together. Occasionally, Emma's eyes drift to the portrait, but with less frequency as the evening progresses. Over dessert, a complicated chocolate thing that Emma insists we share, she brings it up again. "I was so afraid of losing you that day," she says softly. "The birthday?" She nods. "When you walked out. I thought I'd ruined everything with my ridiculous idea." "It wasn't ridiculous," I say, surprising myself with how much I mean it. "Misguided, maybe, but I understand now what you were trying to do." Still, not my brightest moment. I smile. We all have those. Some more spectacular than others. We laugh, and it feels good being able to find humor in something that had hurt so much at the time. As we're finishing our coffee, I notice Emma's expression change suddenly, her eyes fixed on a point behind me. "Emma," I ask, turning to follow her gaze. A couple is being seated at a table near the entrance. The man has his back to us, but even from behind, there's something familiar about him. The woman with him is tall and elegant, her red hair pulled into a sleek updo. "Is that—" I begin. Emma nods, her expression unreadable. "Julian?" I turn back to her. "Do you want to leave?" She shakes her head slowly. "No, it's okay." She studies me. "Is it okay with you?" I consider this honestly. 6 months ago, the idea of being in the same room as Julian would have filled me with jealousy and insecurity. Now I find I'm mostly curious. "It's fine, as long as you're comfortable." Emma reaches across the table, squeezing my hand. "I am. With you." We decide to stay for one more drink, partly out of genuine desire, and partly, I suspect, from a shared morbid curiosity. From our position, Emma can see Julian clearly, while I have only a partial view of his profile when he turns. "He hasn't changed much," Emma observes after a while. "Except maybe his hair's a little shorter." "Can he see you from there?" She shakes her head. "I don't think so. We're mostly behind him. We talk about other things, but there's a new awareness between us, a shared secret that makes our conversation feel slightly heightened, more intimate. When we finally decide to leave, we have to walk past Julian's table to reach the exit. Emma squeezes my hand tightly as we approach. "Emma?" A male voice calls just as we're about to pass their table. We both freeze. Emma's grip on my hand tightens to the point of pain. Julian rises from his seat, smiling broadly. Up close, he looks remarkably like his portrait. The same confident posture, the same slightly practiced smile. He's well dressed in a way that suggests effort rather than natural style. "I thought that was you," he says, stepping forward to kiss Emma on the cheek. She accepts it stiffly, not quite returning the gesture. "What a coincidence!" "Julian," Emma says, her voice impressively steady. "Nice to see you." Julian turns to me, extending his hand. "And you must be Alex. I've heard a lot about you." I shake his hand, noting his firm grip, the kind designed to make an impression. "Likewise." This is a lie, of course. Until 6 months ago, I'd never heard his name. But it seems the polite thing to say. "This is Vanessa," Julian says, gesturing to the redhead, who smiles coolly at us. "Nice to meet you," Emma says. I echo the sentiment. "Are you two leaving already?" Julian asks, somehow making it sound like a challenge. "We were, yes," I reply, before Emma can say anything. "Early start tomorrow." Julian nods, though his attention is already shifting back to Emma. "We should catch up sometime. Properly. It's been too long." Emma glances at me, then back at Julian. "Maybe sometime. It was good seeing you both. Enjoy your dinner." We make our goodbyes and continue toward the exit. Just before we reach the door, I glance back. Julian is still standing, watching us go. Behind him, on the wall, his portrait seems to be watching too. Two versions of the same man, both observing Emma walk away. Outside, the night air is cool against my face. Emma releases a long breath, as if she'd been holding it the entire time. "Well," she says, "that was unexpected." "Are you okay?" She nods, then laughs, a genuine sound of relief. "Yes, completely okay. That was strange, but fine." We start walking toward the car, my arm around her waist, her head leaning slightly against my shoulder. "He's exactly the same," she says after a moment. "Still so concerned with appearances." I noticed that. "And did you see how he barely acknowledged Vanessa? Poor woman." I smile. "I did notice that, yeah." Emma stops walking suddenly, turning to face me. "And then there's you. So steady, so real." She reaches up, her hand cool against my cheek. "Thank you for being exactly who you are." I lean down and kiss her, right there on the sidewalk under the glow of a street lamp. When we pull apart, she's smiling. "What was that for?" she asks. "Just for being exactly who you are." We continue to the car, talking about inconsequential things, the food at the restaurant, the weather, plans for the weekend. As I drive us home, Emma reaches over and takes my hand. "That portrait," she says suddenly. "Seeing it there on the wall while he was sitting right there. It was like seeing the past and present simultaneously." "And which did you prefer?" I ask, only half joking. She squeezes my hand. "The present, always the present." We drive the rest of the way in comfortable silence, the city lights streaming past the windows, illuminating Emma's profile in flashes of gold. I think about Julian, about the portrait, about the strange journey that brought us to tonight. Sometimes the past resurfaces not to haunt us, but to show us how far we've come, to remind us of choices made, paths taken and not taken, and what we've found along the way. As we pull into our parking spot at home, Emma turns to me. "Do you know what I realized tonight?" "What's that?" If I hadn't made that ridiculous mistake with the portrait, we might never have had all those conversations about our past, about what we want for our future, about who we really are to each other. I consider this. Sometimes the worst gifts can turn out to be the best ones, I guess. She laughs. "I'm still never giving you a portrait of an ex again." Thank God for that. "Stop fidgeting," I tell Emma as we stand outside the gallery. "You look beautiful." She smooths down the front of her dress for the 1,000th time. "I'm not nervous about how I look. I'm nervous about the paintings. The paintings are beautiful too. And they are. I've watched Emma create them over the past year. Small, intimate watercolors that capture moments of our life together. Morning light through curtains, coffee cups on our kitchen table, the view from our bedroom window in different seasons. Simple scenes transformed by her perspective, her attention to detail, her ability to find beauty in everyday moments. Tonight is the opening of her first solo show, a small exhibition at Diane's gallery. Friends and family will be there, along with local art enthusiasts and a few critics from regional publications. Ready? I ask, offering my arm. Emma takes a deep breath and nods. Ready. The gallery is already busy when we enter, people clustered around Emma's paintings with glasses of wine in hand. Diane spots us immediately and hurries over. There she is, our artist of the hour. She kisses Emma on both cheeks. People are raving, my dear, absolutely raving. Emma blushes, pleased. Really? Really, now come, there are some people you must meet. Emma glances at me questioningly. Go, I say, smiling. It's your night. I'll get us some drinks. As Emma is whisked away by Diane, I make my way to the bar set up in the corner. While waiting for our wine, I wander through the exhibition, observing how others react to Emma's work. There's a genuineness to their appreciation that makes me proud. These aren't just polite gallery-goers making the rounds. They're truly engaged with what they're seeing. I pause in front of one painting I've always particularly loved. A simple scene of our living room at dusk, shadows stretching across the floor, the light almost tangible. Emma has titled it Home. It's quite remarkable, a voice says beside me. The quality of light, so difficult to achieve in watercolor. I turn to find an older woman studying the painting intently. She's elegantly dressed, with short silver hair and keen eyes. Yes, I agree. She has a gift for capturing light. Indeed. The woman extends her hand. Margaret Chen, I'm Marissa's mother. I'm momentarily taken aback. Alex Thompson, pleasure to meet you. Ah, the husband, she says with a knowing smile. Marissa mentioned you might be here tonight. I shake my head, confused. I'm not. We're not married yet. This last word slips out unintentionally, surprising even me. Margaret seems amused. My mistake, but perhaps a premonition? Before I can respond, Emma appears at my side, slightly breathless from her rounds. There you are. I've been looking everywhere. I hand her a glass of wine. Emma, this is Margaret Chen, Marissa's mother. Emma's eyes widen. Oh, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm a huge admirer of Marissa's work. And she of yours, it seems. She insisted I come tonight when she heard about your exhibition. Emma blushes. That's very kind. Not at all. She was quite impressed with your perspective. Said you had an honest eye. High praise from my daughter, I assure you. We chat for a few more minutes before Margaret excuses herself to view the rest of the exhibition. As she walks away, Emma turns to me. That was surreal. Meeting Marissa's mother here, of all places. Life has a strange way of connecting dots, doesn't it? Emma shakes her head, smiling. It really does. The rest of the evening passes in a blur of introductions, conversations, and congratulations. Emma sells several paintings, receives commissions for more, and is invited to participate in a larger group exhibition later in the year. By the time the last guests are leaving, she's glowing with excitement and exhaustion. Diane insists on locking up, telling us to go celebrate. We walk to a small bar a few blocks away, a quiet place where we can actually hear each other talk. To the artist, I say, raising my glass once we're settled in a corner booth. Emma clinks her glass against mine. to new beginnings. We sip our drinks, the comfortable silence of long companionship settling around us. I can't believe how well it went, Emma says finally. Did you see Margaret Chen bought 2 paintings? I did. She has good taste. Emma smiles, then grows thoughtful. It's strange, isn't it, how things work out? What do you mean? A year and a half ago, I gave you that awful birthday gift. And now here we are. I have my first solo show. You're being considered for partner at the firm. We're talking about buying a house. Life moves on, I say, reaching for her hand across the table. It does, but not always in the direction you expect. She looks down at our intertwined fingers, then back up at me. When Margaret introduced me to that gallery owner from Chicago, she called you my husband. I noticed that. You didn't correct her. Neither did you. Emma's smile deepens. No, I didn't. We sit with that for a moment, the implication humming between us like a current. Would that be so bad? I ask finally. Being married to me? Emma pretends to consider this seriously. I don't know. Do you snore? Wait, I already know the answer to that. I laugh. Very funny. She squeezes my hand. It wouldn't be bad at all. In fact, I think it might be perfect. Perfect, huh? That's a strong word. Not perfect like a fantasy or an idealized memory, she clarifies. Perfect like us. Real. Sometimes messy. But right? I feel something shift inside me. A certainty taking root. I've been carrying a small velvet box in my pocket for weeks now, waiting for the right moment. Maybe there is no perfect moment, just perfect understanding. Wait here, I say, sliding out of the booth. Where are you going? Just wait. I approach the bartender, a young woman with a friendly smile. After a quick conversation and the exchange of cash, I return to our table with 2 shots of whiskey. What's this? Emma asks, eyeing the drinks suspiciously. A toast. To honesty. To seeing things as they really are. Emma picks up her glass, still looking confused but willing to play along. To honesty. We drink. The whiskey burns pleasantly on the way down. One more thing, I say, reaching into my pocket. I place the small velvet box on the table between us. Emma's eyes widen. Alex? I've been carrying this around for weeks, waiting for the perfect moment, but I've realized something important. What's that? She asks, her voice barely above a whisper. The perfect moment isn't a place or a time or a grand gesture. It's just us, being honest with each other. I open the box. Inside is a simple ring with a small emerald, Emma's birthstone surrounded by tiny diamonds. Emma Sullivan. Will you marry me? Not because I'm some idealized version of what a husband should be, or because you're some perfect image of a wife, but because we're real together. Because we see each other clearly. Because I love who you are, not who I imagine you to be. Emma's eyes fill with tears, but she's smiling. Yes, God, yes. I slide the ring onto her finger, and it fits perfectly. A small miracle in itself. It's beautiful, she says, admiring how the stones catch the dim light of the bar. I had help. Your mom has good taste in jewelry. Emma laughs, wiping away tears. You asked my mom? I did, she cried. Of course she did. Emma looks down at the ring again, then back at me. I love you, Alex. The real you. Not some portrait or memory or fantasy, just you. I love the real you, too. Every complicated, wonderful bit of you. Later that night, as we walk home under a canopy of stars, Emma's hand in mine, the ring glinting in the moonlight. I think about the strange path that led us here. How sometimes the wrong turn can lead you exactly where you need to be. Emma stops suddenly, looking up at the night sky. Do you know what I just realized? What? We've never had a portrait done. Of us? I smile, understanding immediately. Maybe we should fix that. Maybe we should, she agrees, squeezing my hand. Not as idealized versions of ourselves, not as perfect images frozen in time, but as we really are, imperfect, honest, real, together.